Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is another book review. I have been doing really well with my reading actually. I'm very proud of myself. It's been a while since I made a video, but I have actually read a couple of books. So the book that I'm going to mention today is this one. So it's called There's No Such Thing as an Easy Job by Kikuko Tsumura, who is a Japanese author, and it's been translated into English by Polly Barton. So it is about the difficulties of working, I guess, and that there is no such thing as an easy job. It's a woman who has left her career, her job in some kind of like social work, social care, because it was too stressful. It's not really specified why or what's happened. She's moved back in with her parents and now she's trying to find another job that's not too taxing, too challenging. She has a very patient and helpful woman at like the employment agency who's finding her these other jobs to try, and so the book is split into a few chapters and each chapter is a different job that she has. So I didn't realise this because the blurb on the back just mentions that, so it says she's sent to an office building where she is tasked with watching the hidden camera feed of an author suspected of storing contraband goods. So that's the first job and it's called the surveillance job, and it's not very clear who she's doing surveillance on behalf of, but she is like just monitoring this author and sort of spying on him to see if she can locate these contraband goods that he has somewhere hidden in his apartment, his flat. But that's just the first chapter. I thought it would continue just about that, and I think that would have been a different book. Part of me was a bit like, oh, I'm kind of disappointed it isn't just like full, 390 pages or whatever of her having to watch someone else's everyday monotonous mundane activities and going a little bit nuts in the process. But that is just the first chapter, and then she leaves that job because although she is successful and she gets a bonus and she gets offered a permanent role, she doesn't really feel comfortable spying on people anymore. So then she does a variety of other jobs and they all sound really interesting, and I don't know how representative it is of actual Japanese jobs, but she does the bus advertising job, which is where she comes up with the jingles to play on buses on a particular bus route to advertise local businesses. The cracker packet job, where she comes up with trivia and facts to put on the packets of crackers at a cracker company. The postering job, which I didn't really understand and did seem like a bit of a Japanese thing, but it was going round to people's houses and trying to get them to put up posters that had been designed by her employer. And it was a bit of a funny one because then she becomes in competition with this other organisation that's a little bit shady that are also trying to get people to put their posters up. But the whole idea of like going to people's houses or apartments and trying to get them to put a poster up, I couldn't quite work out whether it's inside or outside their house or both. I didn't really get it because I don't think that maybe it's something that's just quite unique to Japan, I don't really know, but it was a bit of a funny one, but then it's just quite a different job. And then the last one was where she was working in like a big park, so it's called the Easy Job in the Hut in the Big Forest, and her job is to basically just sit there and sort of staff this hut in the middle of this park in a bit of a remote area where no one really comes. And she's just given the very easy job of like, I think she has to cut up some tickets or something, and none of the jobs turn out to be kind of suitable. There's always like a reason why it doesn't really work out for her. Some of the reasons made a bit more sense to me than others, but it's just kind of her interesting journey through all these kind of odd, interesting jobs that are relatively easy for her to do, but then just like it says in the title, there's no such thing as an easy job. And in the end she decides to go back to what she was trained to doing, even though that is a much harder, more stressful job. She feels like she's ready to go back. I really liked it. I thought it was really interesting. I do love to read these like Japanese books and Asian books just because you get a bit of a slice of Japan, and I've been to Japan and I would like to go back. In terms of the translation, it's really hard, I think, to judge translation. If I could read Japanese I could compare both versions, but I can't, which is obviously why I've gone with the English version. I found it a bit odd because there are some things that are, I can't now think of an example obviously, but there are kind of, I guess, phrases, colloquialisms, slang, where the author has used the like English equivalent, so it sounds like quite an English phrasing of something for like the more slang phrases that just don't really seem like a Japanese person would use that terminology. I mean, obviously they wouldn't, because they'd be speaking in Japanese, not English, but it just doesn't sound Japanese. It makes them sound English or perhaps American, but really I think it's quite an English thing. And I don't know how I feel about that, because I suppose as a translation it does give you the equivalent. They would be saying the Japanese equivalent, and it would be received in the same way amongst their peers as it would be if the English speaking person used the English terminology that she's used in the book, in the translation. But I think it's kind of a shame, because you do lose something in translation, and like I said, I quite like to get the kind of Japanese Asian flavour, and you do get that with, like I said, that like the postering job, which seems like something that's somewhat uniquely Japanese, or definitely isn't like a British thing. So you do get to see different sides of different cultures. But some of the translation, to me, I would have preferred if it had sounded more Japanese whilst being in English. But I don't know if what I'm asking for is silly, makes no sense, or would just be impossible, would actually not be a very representative translation of the original text. So it must be really difficult to be a translator for all these reasons. Anyway, I kind of whizzed through this book, and it's like it's not super long, but it's not super short. Like I said, it's about 380 pages, something like that. Yeah, I really liked it, so I do recommend. If you have any book suggestions, please leave them in the comments below. I have a few in my to-read list, and I have not very much time and not very much energy, but I am getting back into reading, so I'm quite pleased about that. So let me know if you've read the book, let me know what you think. If you like the video, please give me a like, and if you want to see more, please subscribe.